Hello and a classy glass of Bordeaux red wine. Welcome to Mates Rate. My name this week is Gaz Carr, and as demanded contractually by the format of the show, I am joined by the charismatic, enigmatic, problematic Dan Kaiser. Say hello to our listener, Dan.
Hello, listener, and if I was there with you now, I'd hold you so very, very tight.
Problematic. For any first-time listeners, Mates Rate is a podcast where two shiftless layabouts scale the sea-facing cliffs of movie trivia, poking our fingers into the handholds of our experientially gained film knowledge while praying we don't get shat on by the seagulls of inaccurate information. Our premise is simple. We choose a movie-based topic and each pick our 5 totes fave examples of said topic.
Totes.
Totes fave?
What are you doing?
I'm down with the kids.
You do what?
You're the problematic one. Today's subject was picked by the youngster Daniel.
Hello.
What is it, Dan?
I would like to talk about our favourite and possibly the very best weapons ever displayed in movie land.
You are quite a violent person, though.
Oh, yeah?
You chose weapons because you enjoy the death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because watching it on film satiates my need for blood.
Yeah, for blood. I don't know what that was. What accent for blood? I liked it.
Yes, blood.
Problematic. In anticipation of this being a rather lengthy chat, we're going to split this episode into 2 parts. So what you'll hear today is Dan's and mine favourite 5, 4 and 3. Next time you'll get the top of the lists and maybe some honourable mentions or even some worst ofs. Suffice it to say, we're going to be talking in depth about every movie we're covering and spoilering the fertilizer out of it. So we're now offering you the chance to make a graceful exit, read the description, which will contain a list of all the films that are even mentioned, and then rush to your most comfortable chair for some Netflix and chill.
Do you think it actually means sex, or do you think it
does mean sex?
Do you think it might mean like oral sex whilst watching the film?
Do you know what? I think it just means sexual acts.
My goodness.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been in a position who...
You've never done a sexual act?
Yeah, well, I've never
From what I've heard, all you can do
Netflixed
is
and
act.
chill. How do you say it in the past tense?
Netflix and chilled.
Oh, that's better. Yeah.
Didn't seem that hard to me. I mean, okay.
We're here, we're
So kicking us off will be me today, I think. Or will it be you? I don't know.
I'd love it if it was you.
Do you want it to be me?
Yeah, you take it.
Okay, so I'm going to kick us off today.
Oh.
So my number 5 is Darth Maul's double-edged lightsaber from Star Wars The Phantom Menace.
Oh, maybe the best and only good moment in that film?
Well, that's it. The whole film is pretty crap, except for that fight.
Is it crap or is it just... I've been trying to, I said a little while ago that I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan.
5'3".
I've been trying to go back and, retrospectively look at things. But it's all the politics.
Yeah, there's so many weapons to pick from in the Star Wars franchise. There's, for example, I could have picked Luke Skywalker's lightsaber.
The classic blue.
The one that Obi-Wan passed to Luke and said, "Your father's lightsaber. He wanted you to have it once he'd used it to slaughter dozens of innocent children. There you go."
Isn't the first thing that Luke does is look down the barrel of it?
Yeah.
That would
sees all the death. What do you mean when he
because there's a
accidentally
lot of youngling blood on this.
Yeah. It's like, what's all this congealed inside?
Just from memory, the first thing he does when looking at it is look directly down where the beam would come out,
and then presses the button.
No, he doesn't turn it on. But that would have wrapped up the saga pretty quick.
Yeah. Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hole in Your Head.
Would it have put a hole, or would it have just incinerated his
I think
head?
if he it would put a hole in it. If he actually just pressed the button, it would be straight through his head. Because you saw when Qui-Gon died by the double-edged lightsaber, he did just stick him through the middle with it. That's all he did.
Yeah.
And that killed him. I mean, Darth Vader arms and legs chopped off, and he was fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
everything would have been cauterized, so
yeah, it
wouldn't have been great.
It could have
but he might have survived.
Severed his spinal cord, but it was below the heart and below the lungs. I don't know. I feel like we might be diving into this where we have absolutely no medical knowledge.
Oh God, no! But this is Star Wars medical knowledge. In the Mandalorian show, or is it in the Boba Fett show? He's Boba Fett. Isn't his companion? Isn't she cut in half and he puts her back together with robot bits inside her? She's like a cyborg inside her tummy.
Is this Ming-Na Wen?
Is that the actress?
Yeah,
I'm going to say yes.
She's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's been in...
Oh yes, yeah, her.
Yeah. She's fantastic. Do you know how old she was doing the Mandalorian and stuff like that? She was about maybe 58, 59.
Nearly 60 years old.
Nearly 60
she looks
old. She's 60 now.
She looks incredible.
She looks ridiculously good. Ridiculously young. She has not aged. If you see her in some of her older films, She just hasn't aged a day. Do you know she was the voice of Mulan in the original
I
animated?
did not know this.
She's amazing looking for a 60-year-old woman.
Yeah,
I mean,
until you pull that flap of skin back and you see all the robot guts.
Well, yeah. But she was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well.
Yep.
And in Book of Boba Fett, she was kicking ass. She was doing all this fighting.
Very acrobatic choreography.
A bit like Michelle Yeoh.
Yes.
Again, she's no spring chicken, but she can kick ass with the best of them.
Absolutely. Better than you or I.
Oh, way better than you.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to the topic of the weapon, Darth Maul's double-edged lightsaber. We've seen lightsabers before throughout the Star Wars saga, and they've always been single blade, sort of wielded with two hands.
Yeah, the hilt changes depending on the user.
Yeah, and the colour changes. That's really important. It's always red for a bad guy or green or blue for a good guy.
Yeah.
I mean, the only good guy that we've really seen so far has been Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker, mainly Luke Skywalker, up to this point. And then we get Qui-Gon, who's got a green one. Later on, we get Samuel L. Jackson, who requested a purple lightsaber. So he was the first person to have a different coloured lightsaber.
Do you know why he wanted that?
Because he was badass.
Yeah. He wanted it because, is it called Genosha? Is that what that planet's called?
I think there's a planet called Geonosa.
Geonosa, sorry.
But
yeah,
I'm
I think
not
Genosha
sure.
is from X-Men, actually. There's the big Jedi battle at the end of that, and he wanted to stand out. He wanted to be seen amongst the throng.
I remember that the story was that they were brought around a load of different lightsabers that they could pick. Like the main cast were like, pick your lightsaber out of these. Which one do you want? And he said, I want that one, but can I have it in purple? And they went, oh, you're Samuel L. Jackson, so okay.
I think he was originally kind of told no. I think George Lucas said lightsabers for Jedi are green and blue. Deal with it. And he said, I'm next to Yoda. I'm like the hardest Jedi, and I want that to be known.
Wanted to stand out, yeah.
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 And he likes purple.
Who doesn't like purple?
Yeah.
Purple is the best colour. So this was the first time that we saw a different style of lightsaber. And ever since then, it seems like they're trying to, make a slightly different lightsaber. Again, you've got the dark saber, which is like a sword that kind of has a white glowy outline, but it's black.
Yeah.
And
it's heavy, apparently.
Oh, is it?
Or it's,
like
I don't know, if you're like not the chosen person to wield it, it's hard for you to use.
Yeah, and since then we've had Kylo Ren's sword that's got these little two blades that come out the hilt.
Yeah, like it's a broadsword or a long sword.
And it's
traditional sword with a hilt.
It's also very angry. It's got all the it's not
sparky.
A smooth, sparky. That's what he calls it. Not his lightsaber. Going back to that fight with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Maul, that was the best bit about The Phantom Menace, and I would go as far as to say it was the only really, really good bit of The Phantom Menace.
I remember enjoying the pod racing.
I really didn't.
Did you not?
No. Yeah, I didn't enjoy the pod race at all. I don't know why. I think it was possibly that poor, annoying child. I say poor, annoying child because he was just a child.
Yeah.
We've got to blame George Lucas for everything that he did wrong. At the same time as you had The Phantom Menace coming out, you had The Sixth Sense coming out with Haley Joel Osment.
That's right.
I remember reading an interview with him, and I think it was in Empire, and they said, how'd you get yourself into this frightened state? And he said, well, just before the take, I bashed myself off the walls of the corridor, and I just...
Bashed himself off?
This is a child, Dan.
We've all got needs.
Smacked himself off the walls of the corridor, gets himself all kinds of shaky. And then he, does a take in
went as method as he could at that age.
I see dead people.
And then you've got little Jake Lloyd, who's just... The child is irritating, but it's not his fault. It's the dialogue he was given, the way he was told to say it by George Lucas. Yippee! It's not his fault at all.
Did it go on to kind of ruin his life in later years?
I honestly don't know. I feel very sorry for the young man. So I didn't like that pod race at all. It just didn't do it for me. It seemed pointless in the story.
But that fight
was fantastic.
with the double lightsaber.
I mean,
that music.
I was just going to say, the Duel of the Fates, by John Williams, was fantastic. And the tension that's built up.
Very, very good.
The tension that's built up with these force fields that for some reason just open and close and then sort of stop Obi-Wan from getting to him to help him.
And the best thing to do is to sit and meditate.
Absolutely.
Really just focus on what you're going to do next as soon as you can go through that door. Don't try and find another way around. Maybe there is. Maybe there's not.
This is what Qui-Gon did. It worked out well for him.
Yeah.
But he gets a lightsaber through the stomach and he dies. Darth Maul literally chopped in half.
Yeah.
And yet he comes back. All right, I grant you, he didn't really come back until the animated series, and they decided they wanted to bring him back.
They gave him robo legs.
He was dead. They gave him robo legs, exactly.
Yeah.
But, in the later films, you've got General Grievous, who's basically a pair of lungs and a brain.
Yeah. We've said it
And
before.
he's doing all right.
He's RoboCop.
Yeah, he is RoboCop, yeah. There are other iconic weapons in Star Wars. I almost picked Han Solo's blaster because, as you know, I love that gun so much that I've out of a toy, I've made a pretty realistic
Didn't you
version
even
of it.
weight it in some way?
Yeah.
It's
You
nice.
just basically put loads of like spare metal, like nuts and bolts
Just metal
inside.
that you've got around the house.
Metal that you've got lying around the house.
Just some lead.
Yeah, a bit of lead, wife's jewellery,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
It's an investment.
And do you know what? I put the batteries in that when I made that, which must have been, it was long pre-pandemic, so it must have been about 5 years ago. And it still makes the blast noise if I pull the trigger. And I can't get it open again because it's sealed. So once they're dead. But it's still going. I'm really impressed with that. Anyway, shall we move on to your number 5 pick? After you've swallowed.
What?
That's right. You heard.
I was just going to say I really enjoyed the kind of the prop making of the lightsabers, and I think I think it got a bit serious by the time you got to the prequels and beyond. But for New Hope and maybe into the rest of the original trilogy, I really like that lightsabers are made from a flash gun from an old photography.
Oh, I love it. Well,
old photography camera. I was going to say, what a redundant
an old
sentence.
photography camera.
You know those old picture-taking photography cameras?
As opposed to...
bricks.
Yeah, an old cooking camera.
Yeah, if you take a picture of a chicken enough, it will cook.
Absolutely.
With a flashbulb.
Yeah. Well, that's what they did with Han Solo's gun as well. Han Solo's gun is a classic, like old German gun, which you can't get anymore. You cannot get any of these guns or replicas or anything like that because they've all been taken up by Star Wars fans who want to make Han Solo's gun, and they just added bits to it. Like,
and do you remember what Qui-Gon's little? It's got like a little tricorder thing. I know that's a different franchise, but the thing that he puts there,
don't say anything about midi-chlorians.
Well, he takes.
Is that what he scans?
He takes some blood from Anakin, pretending just to clean his graze on his knee up.
I'm pretty sure that's a violation of his human rights.
Yeah, and of the Jedi Code, I would imagine.
Jedi Code.
And he puts it into his little tricorder thing, which he also talks into. It's not called a tricorder because that
is Star Trek.
That's Star Trek. None of the two shall meet. But that is that's a lady's razor that's been painted silver and turned into a device.
Yeah,
I love that.
Well, in my house, there are 3 women and me, and there is no use for ladies' razors in this house because they all fucking use mine. They have their own razors, but they don't use them. My wife and 2 daughters just use mine.
Oh, okay. I think you can say they don't use them. They're incredibly
It's the
hairy ladies.
It's winter. They need a little bit of plumage. How are they going to insulate themselves if not by their own natural plumage?
Nature's way.
Shall we now move on
go on
to your number 5? Dan, what you got? What's coming in at number 5?
Okay, so my number 5 is the gun from The Fifth Element. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I think I do. Basically from the sales pitch.
From the sales pitch, yeah. It's called.
Fantastic.
I can tell you it's called a ZF1.
Okay.
Sounds
like a computer
I've
these
always
days.
known this.
Yeah?
This is not something that I looked up
I
or
did
found.
not know. I couldn't remember that.
Found on the depths of the internet. I knew that from just knowledge. General knowledge. So you've got Gary Oldman is playing Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel. Zorg. And he's brilliant. He's brilliant.
Oh, he is. He's fantastic.
I absolutely love him in it. I always wonder what the hell is going on when his plastic toupee starts melting. He's talking to like the big force, the big evil that's coming to Earth, and this brown sludge starts coming out.
Yeah.
So is he bleeding?
No, I think that's like.
Is it the glue that holds his weird plastic toupee on?
No, I thought it was like ectoplasm or something. Something that this thing is doing to him that hurts him. I didn't think it was anything that he was wearing that was melting, but I can see how you'd think that.
At first, I thought it was blood, but it's brown goop. Anyway, Gary Oldman's Zorg is selling these guns.
He's doing the sales pitch, isn't he?
Sales pitch. He's selling them to who we've just found out are called the Mangalore, which means they're called Mangalorians, which is very difficult in a sci-fi conversation.
Yeah.
That's annoying. Go on.
Is he selling them or is he enlisting them and this is what he's giving them to use? It's been a long time since I've seen the film.
Oh, he's enlisting them as like his personal army.
His little personal army.
But it feels like It feels like part of the price that they're getting from him, part of the bounty that they're getting from him are crates of these.
Yeah, he's definitely
these weapons.
It's definitely like a sales pitch, but he's not selling them. I think he's giving them to use.
Yeah,
it's like, this is what you're going to get. Now go get me Lilu.
They look very much like Earth military weapons. They don't look like a big sci-fi weapon, alien weapon. They look like they were meant to be made on Earth. They've got like a camo tan kind of look to them, and they're just kind of like it's like a big gauntlet that goes over the arm in this kind of like pod shape, but it's this multi-use weapon. And he's demonstrating the flamethrower, the little rockets that come out of it, that they can fire out a big net for capturing people. And then the best bit, which I think was called like the auto return, and he shoots one bullet and he presses the auto return button, and then he turns around to them and he fires it on like full automatic mode, and all the bullets whiz back round and shoot the original target
in a big arc behind him.
Yeah,
they don't hit what's in front of him. They spin around in a big arc and just go behind him. It's fantastic.
Like homing bullets. It's that moment, and then he looks at one of the Mangalores, but it's almost a camera, and he just goes, "My favourite."
He always efficient flamethrower. My favourite.
And it's just absolute. I love him
Gary
in
Oldman's
that film.
fantastic.
I love Oldman in everything, I think.
Oh yeah, me too.
But I love him in that, even though it's not a minor part. But
no, he's a bad guy.
Yeah, but he doesn't have much screen time,
too much.
really.
I'm gonna say something not controversial, but controversial that somebody once said to me. So when I did A-level film studies, my film studies teacher, a fantastic guy by the name of Jeff, and I believe he was once in a band that supported the Human League. He referred to himself as a failed pop star. He didn't like Gary Oldman. He said that he could see this East End angry London boy in everything he did. And I kind of don't get it.
I can't agree with that.
It kind of coloured my opinion. Like when you're young, and your teachers say something, you go, well, that's the truth. That's gospel.
You absorb it like a sponge.
It coloured my opinion of Gary Oldman for quite a long time. It took me a while to come out of that and go, do you know what? He's fucking amazing. What are you talking about?
I think he's an incredibly fine actor, and I think he's one of those actors that does disappear into the roles.
Just going back to the film that we reviewed fairly recently, Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
When he was President Truman.
Yeah.
He was fantastic. You'd be hard-pressed to pick Gary Oldman out of that character. He was so good. But yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm going to throw out a curveball about what's the best weapon in The Fifth Element. Cause,
I'm guessing you're going to say...
Well, Lilu.
Yeah, herself.
She is the weapon, isn't she?
Yeah, she is the fifth element.
Yeah.
And she fires a big sky beam out of her mouth at the end.
Is that out of her mouth? I thought that was just out of her being.
Yeah, I think it might. Maybe it starts there.
And then she goes on a vacation with a very blonde Bruce Willis.
Yeah, but while that sky beam thing's coming out, he's kind of holding onto her, going, "Ah."
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
And then they kind of put them in like a rejuvenation tank.
Yeah,
and there's an erotic scene.
It was very
good lord.
He was very like the end of a Bond film. Well,
it
wasn't
was.
it?
Yeah.
I think he's attempting re-entry, sir.
What I can't remember is like the best thing about that gun is the auto return homing bullet feature.
They never really
I don't think it gets used by the Mangalorean dogmen. I don't think you really see that.
Are they the Mangalorians or are they the Mangalore? They could,
Or they might just be the Mangalore. Yeah. I don't know.
I can't remember. Do you know what? A friend of mine was an extra in The Fifth Element.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in the the opera scene.
Yes.
He's standing
which is
in
very
the background
good.
There. Yeah.
Oh okay. I admire the life and times of the supporting artist, and that kind of work wouldn't be a bad thing, would it? To just be in the background of movies.
To be an extra.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got another friend who, a guy I used to know. He's not really a friend, but a guy I used to know called
drama Fallout.
No Fallout. He used to do loads of Amdram, and he just started doing extra work and gave up his normal job and just became an extra. And I bumped into him in Tesco's a year or two ago, and he's been in Game of Thrones. He's been in loads of Star Wars stuff. Got another friend who's also doing it. He's been in both seasons of Andor.
Oh.
Number 2 will be coming out next year.
I'm going to say that I admire and resent them in equal measure.
Yeah. I mean, if you can do it permanently and make money from it, I'd love to do that. Just go hang out on film sets.
There was a chap that I used to know, and he did a lot. He was in a lot.
Yeah.
He did a lot of Star Wars whenever it was being filmed over here, like Pinewood places. But he would list off his films and say that he was in them as though he were like
so who's a named
in
character
them.
that he got lines.
Yeah, and you're kind of like, you're a good-looking chap.
Do you want a fun extra story?
Go on, please.
I had a friend who was in the Aladdin remake, and this young lady...
Not great.
I've not seen it.
Oh, well, there's my review.
Is that your review?
No,
it's Guy Ritchie.
It's absolutely fine.
It's Guy Ritchie, isn't it?
Was it?
Yeah.
What directed Aladdin?
I believe so.
Good Lord, wasn't nearly Cockney enough.
But so my friend is a very nice Welsh young lady, not particularly Middle Eastern
No.
in skin tones.
No.
So an assistant makeup person started applying some
Generous tan.
generous tan to all
Said Welsh.
all the white folks.
Oh,
and,
right.
And then
everyone.
somebody higher up came over when it started to turn into blackface
Slapped that
and said,
makeup brush
no,
out of her hand.
No. We're not doing that.
We can't go down that road.
Yeah, no. They took that out. They gave them a healthy amount of wet wipes. That could have been quite a faux pas for a man.
Yeah.
So, well, just to bring it back, finish that one off. That was a fantastic gun, fantastic weapon. Really,
I think it's really good,
It's really
and
iconic.
but I suppose kind of like underutilized.
it wasn't underutilized, but those Mandalores were also portrayed as being really thick.
And like some of them could change into humans, and some of them couldn't.
Yeah.
What was that like? It looked like it took a lot of energy, and maybe only some of them could do it.
I think it was like the leader could do it.
Yeah.
Stop banging your ring on the table.
Sorry,
It's all right.
just fiddling with my ring.
You let me fiddle with your ring. So, should we move on to my number 4?
I insist.
Okay, well, my number 4, I have not seen this film in a very long time, but I did love this film growing up. And this is Connor MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod, His Sword, from the film Highlander.
Yeah.
Now, that film is fantastic. It's got an amazing Queen soundtrack.
Yep.
Absolutely love it. Got a brilliant bad guy in the Kurgan, played by Clancy Brown.
I love Clancy Brown.
You've got Sean Connery doing his absolute best Egyptian or Spanish accent. I'm not sure which. And you've got...
Was he meant to be Spanish?
So he's meant to be Egyptian. He's like an Egyptian...
He's
an
from
Egyptian,
that era, and he's so old that he
He's an
went over
Egyptian
to Spain.
immortal. Yeah, and
Yeah,
in his
okay.
times he just travelled, and he's like, his first line is, the King of Spain sends his regards.
Yeah.
And then at one point he cuts the Kurgan's throat, and Clancy Brown, who's got this fantastic deep voice, starts growling because he's really, like, he's injured his vocal cords. I see my cut has improved your voice, which is fantastic. I love Sean Connery in that film, and it was a terrible, terrible shame when he was dispatched. But the thing that I loved is also this sword that Connor MacLeod has, that Christopher Lambert, or Christopher Lambert, as we know him. He's got this Japanese sword. It's the first time that I'd seen like a samurai sword. It's a katana.
Oh, you're not talking about like his broadsword?
No, I'm talking about his katana.
Oh, okay.
The first time we see him in the film is in the car park of like I think it's like a football stadium or something like that. And I think there's a sporting event that I'm going digging in deep into my memory because it's been a long time. But he has a fight with an immortal. He wins, but during the fight he slices through and it goes into a concrete post, and then the police come along, find this decapitated body, and they pull a sliver of metal out of the post and they analyze it, and it's like from this really old Japanese sword, and they say that the metal has been folded like 100 times in the making of the sword, and they've carbon dated it or whatever, and it shouldn't be this old.
Yeah, it's
you
like
know?
an impossible
Yeah, it's
weapon
too old.
in the modern age.
They weren't making weapons like this at that point in history in Japan. But sorry, they never really explain where he gets it from. But still, the look of it's amazing. You know, like before this, you'd seen like, I don't know, your Errol Flynn's or whatever. You'd seen swords in loads of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was, you know...
Is that mainly like a rapier for
Yeah, you've
Errol
seen
Flynn?
rapiers, or you've seen broadsword, or you've seen little stabby Roman, you know, short swords.
Yeah.
But this was like a long, elegant, you know, double-handed hilt or double-handed grip
Yeah.
that you wield it with two hands, and he swings it around himself, and it's almost, you know, balletic or balletic. I don't know how you say that word.
The second one.
Is it balletic?
Yeah.
It's almost balletic, you know, when he's spinning it around himself, and it just looks so cool. It's such an amazing sword. I loved that sword growing up.
I love the effect of the quickening.
The quickening.
When you're taking immortal's power into yourself.
We are brothers, MacLeod.
So do you remember about the voiceover that Connery does?
Oh.
And where he recorded it?
No.
Potentially while they're...
What voiceover? Which bit has a voiceover?
I can't remember. But maybe it was lines of dialogue that needed to be re-recorded.
Yeah.
So this may have been happening in the post-production process. Maybe they needed to bring these elements in to help tell the story more so. Connery refused to come in to do it. So he recorded them in a bathroom.
Nice.
And you can kind of hear
And we're worried about the echo in my
Exactly,
kitchen.
yeah.
With our, semi-professional mics. They're not fully professional, but they're
So
up
it kind of feels that it might have been a little bit echoey in there
there. Yes.
during the quickening, McLeod.
There can be only one McLeod.
Yeah.
And there can be only one, and I've just dropped a deuce.
So it was, yeah.
There can be only number one McLeod, or maybe number two.
Yeah, so I think it was a potential, it was either a scheduling issue or an arrogance issue with Connery. He wouldn't come in.
Connery is
I think he did it from his hotel.
Connery's an absolute legend for being not only an amazing actor, just amazingly charismatic, but also a bit of a dick in quite a few ways.
Yeah.
Very, very anti-English. Anyway, but moving on from that, speaking of dubbing, Christopher Lambert dubbed all his lines for all his films. He would
With his own voice.
for his English-speaking films.
Yeah.
He would mumble his way through the takes on the day and re-record all of his lines, always.
You can kind of see the mumble,
Yeah.
can't you?
Yeah, you can. I mean, like, what the hell was his accent? Like, he was supposed to be Scottish, and he just... I mean, why would you... no offence to Christopher Lambert, because he's fantastic in the film. The film is great. But why would you hire a French person with a very, very thick French accent to try and get away with pretending they were Scottish?
Maybe he was just...
Heather.
Maybe he was just cheap. Maybe it was a cost thing, budget thing. Who can we get? Not a lot of people. What's Chris doing?
You Spanish peacock.
I cannot swim, you Spanish peacock.
I always enjoyed Christopher Lambert. I always enjoyed his laugh in most films.
Yeah.
Just this kind of one. It just whenever he laughed at someone.
Do you know what you did? You did his perfect face.
It was his, that's the thing. I think I can do his face
Great
during
for a
his
podcast.
laugh, but during a podcast medium, not great. I'm sorry, listener. If you can imagine, go to the internet and find a picture of Christopher Lambert
while
smiling,
you're doing that,
and he goes.
While you're doing that, go and find a picture of Thomas Jane from like around the 2000s, because I think that they were identical.
I think you're absolutely right. I think there might be some kind of Highlander shit going on.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I met Thomas Jane.
Did you?
Yep.
How was he?
He was right. Yeah.
I've listened to a podcast with him after, because one of my favorite TV shows, and I've got to get this in there, was The Expanse. Fantastic.
You love The Expanse.
The Expanse was so good. It was such deep sci-fi, and it was such realistic sci-fi. Anyway, so how was Thomas Jane?
Thomas Jane. So I was recording. I was with a presenter, and we were walking around Comic-Con, and we were filming many. This was in England. This was not in your San Diego's, I'm afraid. And the presenter was for an Australian television channel, and we were just doing a fluff piece on Comic-Con and costumes and the people there in terms of the celebrities. Our presenter, lovely lady, she spotted Thomas Jane and said, let's go and talk to him, because he's just done like a fan film, like a Punisher 2 fan film that was called, I think it was called Dirty Laundry.
Okay.
Something like that. And it's very good. It's very, very violent.
All done in his pants.
Some people may have done things in their pants when he killed them. But we walked over. Thomas saw me in the camera, and he retracted a little bit. Yeah,
Thomas.
I had a big camera on my shoulder, and I'm moving towards Sir Thomas Jane, and he's caught me. He's seen me, and he's nonplussed. He's not too happy that someone's coming over to kind of make him do some work. It's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And then he saw the presenter, the Australian, quite beautiful lady that I was with, and he perked up.
His expression changed?
His expression changed.
Oh.
He sat up straight in his chair.
Well, he's a pro.
Yeah.
He was hoping.
He was
she
hoping.
Was too.
I thought you were going to say that. I apologise to all Australian women immediately.
I wasn't generalising that all Australian women
You're a disgusting monster.
were this presenter.
You should be stopped. So my sad impression of Mr. Jane is that he didn't want to be doing what he was doing, which was essentially part of his job, until there was a beautiful lady present, and then he did it pro bono. What?
So anyway, I haven't really got too much more to say about Highlander, because it's been a long time since I've seen it. Except for the soundtrack is amazing. It is a fantastic film. I think that they're remaking it. Henry Cavill is always
Really?
well. I think there is talk, but there has been talk for a while.
Cavill does seem to be the man that you kind of like when a franchise is being reinvigorated. He seems to be like
Sorry, what's that word?
reinvigorated,
I think,
revitalized.
I think you missed a bit of ated on the end of
If you say so.
reinvigorated. Say it again.
Reinvigorated. I like it. Reinvigorated. Hey, I don't know all the words.
No.
Yeah, he seems to be the go-to. He seems to be.
does.
He's just kind of like a.
Well, you say
He
that.
just represents a man. Is that what it is?
Well, no. So the only things I can think of that he's done are Man of Steel, obviously Superman,
That he's done. Yeah, I mean,
Man,
like recently.
and Man from U.N.C.L.E. as well. Where he's
that was-
reinvigorating a franchise. Other than that, his big things are like Mission Impossible,
Yeah, The Witcher.
The Witcher,
Yeah.
Witcher, and he's got the Matthew Vaughn thing coming out. What the hell's that called?
It just always seems to be a news article where they're talking about Cavill coming into the Marvel universe, or he's going to be taking on the Warhammer films. He just seems to be like the go-to.
I refuse to talk to you while I'm doing this.
That's fine.
And he's got Argyle coming out.
What's that?
Argyle is
It's the driver from Die Hard.
It is. It's
He
not.
can't do that.
It's not. I think it's based on a novel by someone called Ellie Conway. It's a new Matthew Vaughn project. He's a weird guy with an incredibly
Big chin.
No, it's a square
Face.
haircut.
Oh,
It's got a very sort of square haircut. Remember when in the 90s there was that very brief period where people had flat tops. It's like that. He's
white
apparently.
people.
I didn't say white people.
No, I did. I don't remember it being
No, you're
other than Vanilla Ice.
a bit younger than me. But yeah, no, he's described as the world's greatest spy, and he gets.
That's James Bond.
Yeah, no, but I think it's maybe a bit more comedic. I'll show you the picture that's on there.
Oh, that's not a good look.
It's not a good look, is it?
Like a widow's peak and a flat top.
It's weird, isn't it? Bringing back a Superman, that's all I can say. So Henry Cavill is apparently in the frame to be Highlander in the remake. And I hope if they do remake it, then at the end of it, when there was only one, then they need to knock it off and not do any sequels. Or then there doesn't need to be only one at the end. There needs to be quite a few left. And then they can have sequels. But when they do this thing, like
Maybe there's only one left on your continent.
Yeah.
And then you have to go on a business trip to deal with the other ones.
But that's it. Like Christopher Lambert, like at the end of the film, spoilers, he won the prize.
Yeah.
He like the prize was supposed to be like it's like the quickening, but you're connected to everyone in the world. So you're connected to scientists and all the humans, so you can sort of help humanity. That's the prize. And then in the next one, I mean, let's not talk about the next one. Oh, that was painful. Did you ever see Highlander 2?
Yeah, I've seen most of it, but yeah, I hold on to the first film.
Do you remember much of Highlander 2?
Not on purpose.
Okay, so I'll give you a brief summary,
Please.
and for you, the listener, Highlander 1 is about immortals that have been around on the planet for thousands of years, fighting it out, and whenever one of them kills the other one, then they get a little bit of their life essence, and it's all sort of like. The crux of it is that there can be only one, so they all eventually have to fight each other and decapitate one another until there's only one left who gets all the essence of all the other immortals, not Highlanders, because he's only called Highlander because he's from the Highlands of Scotland.
Yeah.
Highlander 2, apparently it turns out they were aliens all along.
Yeah.
And Sean Connery's brought back from the dead.
As you were
Oh my
describing
God.
it, I remembered that they were aliens.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, what a shame.
I believe that there is another cut of this film where they are not aliens.
Huh.
I don't know how they did it. But yeah, Sean Connery and Christopher Lambert only came back because they were contractually obliged, and I believe that they were like, what the fuck is this shit?
Hang on. So Sean Connery was contractually obliged to come back for a second film,
But he wouldn't
but he
record his
deliberately died in the first one.
Yep.
Okay. Just asking.
I presume that when that clause was in his contract, he probably just thought, well, they'll do more flashbacks of me training Christopher Lambert.
Yeah, it's just the only thing that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense him coming back to life because he's an alien and that they were fighting an alien war and that they came to Earth and then other aliens came to Earth and they called it Highlander.
Should have called it Space Jam.
Anyway, shall we move on to your number? I want to say your number 4. Is it your number 4? I think it is.
It certainly is.
Because I went with my number 4. Your number 4. What's your number 4, Dan?
So
Dan.
yeah.
What's your number 4?
Oh, my number 4.
Your number 4.
You'd like to know?
I'd like to know.
I'll tell you now.
Please.
So for
Tell me
me,
now. No. Tell me now.
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 Okay. So hold on. We're gonna do it right now. You
Okay.
ready?
Well, Actually,
I
could
can
we do it a
wait.
bit later?
Okay.
Okay.
Now, what do we do? Do we pause the recording, or do we just let it roll and we go out for pizza?
We go out for pizza, we'll let it roll. I think that the people could... what they need to do is
It's a good filler for the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to have some time to breathe and to digest what we've been saying.
As we
while
digest
pizza.
pepperoni,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So they could write in and guess what toppings we're going
Where
to get.
could they write in?
So they could write into matesratepod@gmail.com.
matesratepod@gmail.com.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's our email address.
Is that an
it's
email
where
address?
the good people could write to us.
Only the good people.
Yeah, well, I don't want no bad people
Not the
writing
baddies.
into us. Keep your opinions to yourself, bad
Absolutely.
people. But good people, write in. Guess what pizza we've gone for.
Yep. I mean, you did already say pepperoni.
I did, didn't I?
Yep.
Damn. But they could write in and they could ask us questions. They could tell us what they think of the podcast.
About the pizza, or?
I think we need to move away from pizza
Okay.
and concentrate
What are
on
you
your
saying?
curry dishes
You saying something about me
and
personally?
Chinese.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, Chinese food.
So what's your number 4, Dan?
My number 4. Now, you can argue with me, and you probably will, whether this is a weapon
will.
or not. But this is the Ghostbusters Proton Pack.
That's definitely a weapon.
Yeah, weapon against.
I mean, it's also
ghosts.
a scientific tool,
Yeah,
but it's a weapon.
I just it's a fantastic prop. It's a great looking what feels like, from the way that the prop is designed, a real piece of kit
Absolutely.
that could actually do something.
It's got a nuclear reactor in it.
Yeah, an unlicensed nuclear device strapped upon your back.
Nuclear reactor.
Ghostbusters is a fantastic comedy, and to have these, you've got you can correct me if you think this is wrong, you've got one scientist and a group of idiots running around saving the world from...
Oh, no, I would say there's 2 scientists in there.
Because of Ray.
Ray's definitely a scientist. I would say,
He's not a scientist in the way that Egon's a
no,
scientist. though, is
Egon.
he?
So if
It's
they
a
were,
different kind of
if they were
science.
physicists,
Where would they be visitors? Ding.
if they were shut your face. If they if they were physicists, I would say that Egon is the theoretical physicist and Ray is your experimental physicist. So Ray's
So do you
the
think
one.
Ray built the...
I think Ray's the builder.
Then I
think,
take it all back.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that they both are, because I remember in Ghostbusters 2, they're both, working with.
And also, I didn't mean to
toaster.
call Winston an idiot.
But he is your layman. He's your everyman. So he's your
He just wants a paycheck.
he's your audience accessibility character, isn't
So
he?
why does he come into it so late?
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
Yeah, because I think
He
Bill
wasn't-
Murray is supposed to be your everyman as well,
Yeah.
but he's not. He's just he's a goof.
He's a goof. He's comic relief.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
the best thing about the film.
he is the best. Do
Yeah.
you know when I was growing up?
Did you not like the Murray?
No, I didn't. I didn't dislike the Murray. I loved the Murray. He was fine. But Ray was the one that I loved. I really did. When I was growing up, Ray Stantz was the character that I loved.
Like you identify with Ray?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the one that he jumps on the fireman's pole. Pardon me.
Yeah.
He slides down that fireman's pole with glee.
So he's a very clever physicist.
Yeah,
He's built this nuclear reactor that you can wear on your
Proton
back.
pack. Yeah,
But he smokes while he's got his head in an engine for
I
a
know.
car.
Yeah,
Now, he looks very cool while he's doing it.
people smoking does not look cool.
That's right. Don't do it, kids.
Don't do it.
Unless
But
you want- unless
now,
you
if he
want
was
to.
vaping,
It's a great thing about it.
vaping is so shit.
It's
isn't it?
disgusting. The thing that I kind of like about the Proton Pack,
Hold
maybe the
Can we
most.
Can we just?
What do you want to say
I
now?
just want to continue on about Ray.
What in his fags?
Well, not.
Cigarettes.
I tell you what, though, he whether or not you think that he looks cool smoking that cigarette, the lady upstairs smoking something of his while he was having a ghostly dream, that was a bit weird.
Bloody hell. The
Do
way
you-
you've described
do you
that
remember
was
that?
both incredible and erotic. Yeah. So it was a dream, though. It's really weird.
Was
'cause
it a dream?
It's a dream.
Was it a dream?
Yeah, he
I
dreams
mean,
about
he
a
is
beautiful
dreaming, but
blonde ghost lady.
Had the ghost invaded?
She's only just died recently as well.
Yeah. She wasn't.
Poor lady.
She
She
wasn't.
wasn't dead then,
No.
just to clarify.
Oh, were you talking about the actress has died?
The actress who plays the ghost who
Oh, I thought you meant that.
opens Ray's belt and goes to town.
I thought that you meant that, that because she hadn't decomposed in the scene, that she had died recently. That the ghost was still attractive, rather than in comparison to the taxi driver who was falling apart.
You wouldn't want that
No,
anywhere
you wouldn't
near
want
your
that.
chunk.
No, I mean that's literally all teeth. Podcast title. But anyway, should we get back to the Proton Pack that we were talking about?
Yeah, probably should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What were you saying?
It's when Egon tells them about crossing the streams.
Oh yeah. Well, he could cross the
yeah,
stream
so Egon is
stop
warning them
all
about it. They're in the lift going upstairs to the roof to fight Gozer.
He said it could be bad. And he said, what do you mean by bad?
Yeah, what does he mean by bad? And he says, try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantly and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Yep.
He says all life ending. So does he mean, like, Ray goes on to call it full protonic reversal? So is that of the universe or is that of the planet? It's everything. It's not just them, is it? It's not just that they would be.
I think it's everything.
That they would explode. It's everything.
I think that they've managed to create this, like, I mean, when you use the word apocalyptic, it feels like you're downplaying the significance of what would happen.
Yeah, it's not just a few rundown buildings.
No, it is the universe. It's a bit like in Back to the Future 2, when Doc talks about Jennifer meeting herself, and he says a paradox that could destroy the universe, or it could just be limited to our own galaxy.
But I just think the proton pack in that instance then is one of the most powerful weapons in movie history.
Yeah. It's the bit
if
where
used improperly.
It's the bit where they turn it on.
Yeah.
In the lift, and then the other two just sort of back away from. When they turn the proton pack on, and it's Ray's proton pack, and then Peter and Egon just sort of slowly edge into
away.
the corner, try to get as far away
like
as
a
possible.
meter away from this thing that can.
Well, they're not even meter. Like, there's literally nowhere for them to
nowhere
go.
to
They
go.
probably get about an extra 10 centimeters further away.
Is it one of the best jokes in the film?
It's
incredibly subtle.
Do you know what this is? What I've always said about that Ghostbusters 2016 film. You know, the one with all the ladies.
Yes, all the single ladies.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. No, in fact, I know that Melissa McCarthy's married because her husband's in all the films. But
that joke fell flat, didn't it? Carry on.
There was a joke there. But this is what I've always said about the 2016 remake, not Afterlife, not the requel, but the remake.
The reboot, requel.
The reboot with Kristen
nothing
Wiig
to do with it,
and Melissa McCarthy.
Strange film.
And the best thing about that film was Chris Hemsworth. He was genuinely funny, but the rest of it, the problem with it was that the original Ghostbusters film, if you take the comedy elements out of that film, it works as a genuine supernatural horror. Not too horror.
Yeah.
But it works as a genuine horror film. You know,
maybe a little bit of an action element to it.
Maybe
as well.
a bit of action, but you know, like you've got the
you could imagine it as like a pulp 50s kind of.
Would you remember like the hands coming out of the chair and grabbing Dana? And
I think it's got
her into the
pretty strong horror elements in it for its classification. You know,
I think it has.
For its age rating. And everything.
Well, I think it was like a 15. I think it was. It
might
be a 12 now.
The bit with the librarian turning around at the beginning. When I used to watch
terrifying.
that at the age of like 10 or 12, that was scare the life out of me.
And the equivalent in the Kristen Wiig film was that librarian type thing, just turning around and regurgitating a load of ectoplasm while Kristen Wiig just stands there.
To a comic amount. You can't see that I'm doing air quotations when I use the word comic. Yeah.
I could feel it.
I just couldn't enjoy it.
It was a terrible, terrible film. It was, and like all the ghosts looked like Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Didn't like any of didn't like the look of any of the effects.
It was an awful film, and like there was like when they're testing the proton packs in the alleyway, and Melissa McCarthy is like being lifted off the ground, and you know it's like
like it's a water hose.
It's just, it makes no sense, that film, and it's awful. The original one, you take the comedy out, just a genuine horror film. Not too scary, you know, but it does have horror elements in it. And that's why it works. It's got a decent heart, it's got a decent story, it's genuine.
And it's possibly got one of the most dangerous weapons in
and
humankind.
It's possibly got the most dangerous weapon in the universe.
I mean, they should have been... Do you know who I agree with?
Who's that?
Walter Peck.
Walter Peck.
The man who has no dick.
Yeah. No, I know Walter Peck.
He was right.
Yeah.
And they probably should have been shut down.
Now, your favourite actor in like that film and in Die Hard, you love him.
He's great. Sadly, from a health and safety perspective, they probably should have been stopped. But
Dickless here.
But they saved.
Is that true? Yes, sir. This man has no dick.
Saved the universe.
They did.
Good for them.
They saved the world. They put the universe in jeopardy by
saving
the world. Yeah. No, I think the proton pack is a fantastic pick because it's so iconic.
Yeah, but great weapon, and from a beloved franchise that let's hope it's got a little bit more afterlife in it yet. You know what I mean?
So we're moving on to my number 3.
Please.
Okay. Dan has ejaculated.
You say it like it's weird.
It's where you do it. It's also slightly illegal.
Only if you get caught.
Yeah. Moving on. My number 3 is from a little-known British small independent film called Shaun of the Dead.
Never heard of it.
No. It's a great film. I'd recommend it. It's pretty good. Yeah. It's about zombies. I know you don't like zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's over, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is subgenre.
Well, one of my favourite scenes in this film is when Shaun and Ed first meet the zombies, and they meet Mary and the big guy.
Yeah.
Don't know the big guy's
There's
name.
a girl in the garden.
There's a girl in the garden.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And they sort of start chucking things. They see on the TV that they're zombies, so then they go outside and they start chucking random things like from the kitchen at them, and then they spot a record that Ed had thrown out the window the night before that was, what was it? Do you remember?
I don't know. It's a techno, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Ed throws it at the zombie and it sticks in his eye, and they think, oh, that's a good idea. So then they go and get Shaun's record collection and they're leafing through it to decide what to throw.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I love that. But then after throwing several records, nothing's working. Shaun decides to go and break down the door of the shed and see what's inside. And he comes out with a cricket bat, and Ed comes back with a shovel.
A shovel, yeah.
Yeah. And he says, which one do you want? Do you want the girl or the big guy? And Shaun goes, first one.
Which one, girl or bloke? The first one.
And they swap sides. And then they proceed to just bludgeon off screen. So there's just the two of them filling the screen as they beat into these two zombies, and like blood is spraying up. Only small amounts of blood, but they just keep going and going until they cut to Ed and Shaun sitting on the couch eating cornettos.
Yeah. What would you rather have though, the cricket bat or the shovel?
I mean, I'd go for the shovel
So
myself.
would I.
It's metal.
It's metal. It's kind of sharp
It's kind of sharp,
in
yeah.
places.
But Shaun's cricket bat, it's iconic.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so good. And he uses it to good effect when they go over to Liz's house and they've got to clear away a load of zombies when they're coming out, I think. He keeps smacking them in the arm. I never understood that. When they're coming out first, he smacks a zombie in the arm and knocks it away. He smacks another zombie in the arm, like in the shoulder.
Pushes
and knocks
one
it
away with like
pushes one away. And then
Yeah.
eventually he smacks one in the head, that's kind of what you got to do with a zombie. Destroy the brain.
Yeah.
Remove
I imagine
the head
it was just
or
because
destroy the brain.
I'll repeat that by removing the head or destroying the brain.
I imagine it was just because he was actually hitting people with like a foam version of the
Oh,
cricket
absolutely.
bat,
Yeah.
and he didn't feel too right about bashing them all in the face.
Probably
Foam
not.
or not.
It's also an awful lot more choreography if they've got to hit everybody in the head. But you know,
Yeah.
so you're just battling your way through a load of people in one shot. You just hit them in the arm, hit them in the arm. This is the one you hit in the head.
Yeah, the scene that you mentioned in the back garden, I love that moment when the first zombie, did you say her name was Mary?
Mary, yeah.
She falls onto the...
You know how you know that, don't you?
She's wearing a name badge.
Yeah, she's wearing a name badge. She's an Asda worker, I think,
Yeah.
or another supermarket. There are other supermarkets are available.
She falls onto the
Spike.
spike, or it's the thing that you put your washing line in.
Yeah.
And then that still looks really
It's
really
so good. It's so good.
And she kind of stands back up, lifts herself off of it, and it leaves a hole,
Yeah.
which they then frame Frost
Oh.
and Peg's faces
And
through the hole in her midriff.
You know the best moment there, don't you? The best moment. Well, just before that's happened, Ed has taken a picture on a disposable camera. And then as she lifts herself off, Ed starts winding the camera on to take the next picture.
Yeah.
Obviously, this gag would not happen today because it's all smartphones, but it's click,
Yeah.
click, 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 click.
I do wonder if there's any of our listenership, 3 people, who don't know what a disposable camera is.
Do you know what? I think that they are kept alive by weddings.
Weddings and movies.
Yeah, weddings and old movies.
Yeah.
But I think in the real world, they're kept alive by people buying them, putting them on tables at weddings. That's probably the only place. Going off on a fucking non-movie segue here. I think getting
We are
film...
not known for that, and I apologise to the 2 people.
Do you remember that episode where you kept talking about books? Jesus.
Nearly killed us.
It really did.
Nearly killed the show.
Yeah, I think that it's getting harder and harder to get them developed, I think.
Yeah.
I think it really is. But anyway,
in this economy, eh?
Oh,
Whoa,
God,
Tories.
price of film.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, I haven't got too much more to say about that weapon. I think it's iconic, it's really good, and it's loads of fun. And it's just used to incredibly comedic effect in that one scene.
I'd like to have seen more done with it.
I would have liked to have seen more,
like,
because it's
heads
all
caved
over the
in.
posters. You know, I think has he got his tie? Yeah, he's got his tie around
Like
his
Rambo
head,
style.
Rambo style, which in the posters, I think, and he's got the cricket bat. But those two things don't happen at the same time, because he puts his tie around his head after Ed has. Is it Ed or is it Liz? Somebody throws a dart in his head.
It's Liz,
It's
yeah.
Liz, isn't it? Yeah.
Like, throw me the dart, I think he says.
I mean, it's got great lines, that film. Ooh, he's got an arm off.
Yeah. One of the zombies from the poster
Yeah.
is a young man that I used to know called Simba.
Oh, I know Simba.
You know Simba because what did he do to you?
He beat me in a fucking karaoke competition.
It was people's opinion.
He was
I
better
think
than
you
me.
were,
He was
no,
way
you
better.
were
than me. No, he
strong.
was.
Gareth
No,
has got a powerful, masculine yet beautiful voice.
That's very kind of you to say. I will freely admit, on that day, I don't think I gave my best, but he was really good.
He was very good.
He was very good.
Yeah. So it's really-
Shout out to Simba.
Simba, respect.
If you're still knocking around the highest of Wickhams.
I doubt it. I think
No,
he had
probably
better
not.
things to do.
Probably.
Like
Well, this
being
was
Shaun
after,
of the Dead.
No, but this was after Shaun of
It
the
was,
Dead.
yeah. I think he did it again. It's people taking up work in the extras sector
Yeah.
of the Hollywoods.
Yeah. Do you know when I first saw Shaun of the Dead?
Was it at the cinema?
It was at the cinema,
That's where I probably saw it as well.
but I was very lucky that I saw it about 6 months before it came out.
Ah,
They used to do. They don't think they do them anymore. There used to be people with clipboards
Yep.
hanging around High Wycombe Central.
do you want to see a movie, sir?
Well, no, it was always a gamble, wasn't it? Do you go up to them? Are they going to ask you for money for a various charity, or are they going to offer you the opportunity to see a movie nice and early?
Do you remember the term that those charity people were that was coined for them?
No.
So, some people would call them.
Some people, Dan,
Me would call them a charity mugger
Oh,
or chugger,
Chuck.
which I think is kind of beautiful.
It is lovely. I mean, I do love it when you
Filthy, don't go that way.
invent
It's
a
chuggers.
word. Yeah. So So one day I was in Wickham and we got several tickets to see this, and we took our good friend John. I think we got the tickets and invited him. I think that was it. John. I think it was my wife, John. Maybe someone with him. I can't remember. It was a very long time ago. Go on.
I was just going to say, Hot Fuzz was promoted in the same way.
I didn't see Hot Fuzz there. I would
No,
have
but it was
loved
these kind of like advanced screenings, and maybe screenings that would have even informed what like a final edit would have been,
Well, this is
a
it.
test
So
screen.
this is what I was
to
gonna
see how
say.
these films go with people.
is that I loved the film, and I think on my little questionnaire afterwards I said there was nothing wrong with it. And then when it came out in the cinema, I watched it and it was fantastic. And then when it came out on home video, on Blu-ray or DVD, I bought it. It was DVD back then. I bought it and I watched it, and then I watched the deleted scenes, and I was like, I've seen all these deleted scenes before. And it was at that point that I realised
You
that
saw a pre-release version.
I saw in the version that I saw, those deleted scenes were all in the film.
What amazing things did you see?
Oh, I can't remember. There's more stuff with Shaun and Pete in the kitchen. That's Peter Serafinowicz.
Who is
Serafinowicz?
I'm not sure.
underused. Oh, he's fantastic. The voice of Darth Maul, bringing
Yeah.
us back to Star Wars,
Yeah.
who was in Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, he is underused. He's fantastic.
Mm.
Yeah, so all these scenes I'd already seen, and it was really weird because I was like, oh yeah, I've seen all these.
I would have liked to have seen the cricket bat used, even maybe just the one time, to actually really destroy a zombie's head.
Well,
I don't think that really happens, does it?
It does with
Does it?
Mary and the big guy, but you don't see
That's
it.
off screen. Yeah.
But,
I mean,
but it
I
wasn't that type of horror film.
It's not, and maybe it's just saved up until the end. But when David is killed,
David. Oh, David.
Davs. When he's killed and when he's ripped apart, maybe
all right, there is gore there.
maybe
yeah.
we've been building to that part because he's absolutely dismembered. Like his stomach's ripped apart,
But
and then his head and all of his limbs are taken off.
You've got to remember. Oh yeah, I love that.
She goes out with his
yeah.
legs to beat.
Lucy
beat the zombies
Davis, his girlfriend. I can't remember her name. In it. Lucy Davis, isn't she? She's Jasper Carrot's daughter.
Oh.
She grabs a leg and starts beating zombies.
And screams, "I'm coming! I'm going to save
I'm
you, David!"
coming, Davs. You got to remember though, it was really low budget, that film. So maybe that's why they spent all their gore money on entrails and not head trails.
Yeah, maybe.
speaking of Lucy Davis's character Diane, on the DVD there was that little extra story. Do you remember? Did you see that?
No.
It's a little animated story about what happens to her because she doesn't die.
She just goes off screen into the throng of zombies.
So she goes off screen. She in the little animated story, she battles away at the zombies and then realizes, what the fuck am I doing? I'm about to die. So then she runs away and climbs a tree and survives.
That's good, because I did worry about her.
Yeah, I mean, but it was such a good film, that, and it had like great heart, didn't it? You know, like all that stuff with the mum.
Yeah.
You know, and that was absolutely gutting. And the stepdad and him sort of accepting him as his dad, bit too late.
Yeah.
But Bill Nighy was fantastic in that.
It's not my dad. He was great. But then, isn't he great in everything?
He is great in everything. I once gave him directions to a cash point on Wardour Street.
My goodness.
Yeah, that's my claim to fame. My only one. And he was lovely.
And how much of the cash did he give you?
I did say, I will walk there with you, and I expect 10%. I am your agent for this moment. I'm the agent of cash points.
So we need to walk around Wardour,
Yep.
or the general Soho area.
Uh-huh.
We need to do this for as long as it takes for Keanu Reeves to appear.
Yep.
He needs to be disorientated.
Yep.
And he needs directions to the nearest cash point, or
Right.
in his vernacular, ATM.
There's one on Dean Street.
Yep.
Okay.
So we walk over to Dean Street and we say, Keanu, K-Man, Special K.
How
How much were you getting
got
out?
a bit of a flaw.
He just wanted
in
a
your
20.
plan. I've got a bit of a flaw.
And we
in
say,
your
why don't you take out 50k, 50k 20.
Right,
You
so-
keep the 20.
This is so the problem here.
Yeah.
Pretty sure there's a limit on how much you can take.
What, even for a big star like Keanu
I
Reeves?
think it's like 300 quid.
But you can keep doing it.
Oh yeah. Oh okay.
If you go to different branches.
I'm sorry, I didn't realise you thought this through. Yeah.
We'd make a day of it.
Call it Dan and Keanu's Day of Fun. Right. That's pretty
So,
Have we got any more to say?
I got
about
an-
Charlotte?
I don't think so.
No.
We definitely went off on some
Tangentials.
tangentials.
Tangentals. Right. Wow.
God.
So
released an ancient evil there.
So we slid off on some tangentials there. Let's
Let's put those back in the
put those back in
the
their case.
yeah.
So we're going to move on to your number 3.
Oh yes, please. So I suppose it's worth saying that these are in no particular order because
Oh, mine are.
are they?
Yeah.
Well, it's just that with Ghostbusters, I was talking about how they could destroy the very fabric of reality.
Yeah, we're not
And then
talking...
these ones, not so much.
Okay.
So these are the Green Goblin's weapons from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man film
Oh.
of 2002, 2003,
No.
around that kind of time. The pumpkin bombs, and to a lesser extent,
Pumpkin bombs.
the Razorbats, which are the kind of the bladed flying weapons, classic staples from the comics, and just I really, really like how they were done in this universe, or I say
Yeah.
universe, inside of this series of Raimi directed films, and later on into the MCU, weren't they? I really like the design.
Yeah, well, there's
I like
a
the design of
danger.
the weapons,
There's a,
not his suit.
I thought the suit was fine, but that mask was
It's the mask.
awful.
Yeah, it's the mask. Yeah.
I mean, the suit is not very Green Goblin.
No, it's a shame that they didn't just get some purple in there.
Yeah, they could have just you could have kept that kind of suit, but maybe like because it's sort of made up of components, you could have had some purple components like the shoulder pads and stuff.
They kind of do things in the newer MCU Spider-Man.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
In No Way Home.
Yeah, yeah.
He kind of has like some fabric-y elements to
He
it.
does.
And
Well,
I think that's all it really needed. He could have had the battle suit.
Doesn't he get kind of like something like a poncho or something like that to sort of disguise himself?
Yeah.
But then he keeps it, and they also get rid of that mask, which I was so pleased about because
Yeah. And they kind of, it's almost like a Spider-Man No More shot. You know, that kind of like Spider-Man leaves his costume in the bin.
Was. Yeah, yeah.
And in this, he kind of leaves the mask in the trash or like hanging off of the
Spider-Man.
rubbish.
I think it's Spider-Man's suit is also hanging off the big.
off the bin, and that's from the comics, and then into Spider-Man 2 as well.
Oh, okay.
They kind of replicate that shot, and it felt like they were going for that with the mask
He
being
smashes
ditched.
the mask, doesn't he?
Yeah, I can't remember if it's hanging up now.
I'm
broken.
sure it
It's
was
broken.
hanging up and broken. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but I like how functional the pumpkin bombs look. In the comics,
Yeah, yeah.
they look like little,
Well, that's it.
intricately carved, beautiful little Instagram-ready pumpkins.
That's it. Oh, there was a danger of
That are
it
like
going
smoking.
quite comical. For,
Yeah.
Danger of it looking naff.
Yeah, but these look like, although they're ornate. They look like military grade weapons, you know.
Is that the dog?
Sounded dog-esque. Gareth has just wandered off to see what the fuck that was. Was it a dog? Was it a ghost? Was it a zombie? We don't know. I was just talking to the listeners while you were gone. Keeping them happy.
Dan, I've returned!
Thank God. What was it?
I don't know. There was a dog there.
Oh, it was a dog. It wasn't a ghost.
No.
Ghost dog?
Ghost dog.
Hmm.
Isn't that a film?
It should be.
Forrest Whitaker? Something like that? Anyway.
Oh, but it's not about ghosts that used to be dogs.
No. It's
Oh.
about dogs that used to be ghosts.
Oh, see, I want to watch the opposite film. Okay, so, yeah, they appear to be like proper tech. He throws them around with gay abandon at Spider-Man's face.
Yeah.
And they cause explosions and they cause fires, and that's great.
Yeah, they look quite menacing, and they are the thing that allows Spider-Man to get his mask off again. Well, I suppose for the first time. He loves getting his mask
so we
off.
can see
Tobey Maguire's
the actor
Spider-Man.
underneath. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're paying big bucks for Maguire's handsome face. I mean, Spider-Man's made of tougher stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
But the first pumpkin bomb that gets thrown in Spider-Man turns all of the board members to skeletons and
ash.
dust and ash.
Yeah.
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 Only those guys.
Only those guys.
It does affect the structural integrity of the building, but it doesn't really do like any like explosive damage. It just kind of like cracks the concrete of the balcony that they're on, so that there can be a big dramatic set piece.
What are you saying? Are you saying that there's a superhero film where the powers of something are inconsistent from one scene to the next?
Yeah, and I think we should look into it.
Okay.
Maybe in some kind of like countdown podcast format.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe. But yeah, that first bomb is horrifically powerful. Maybe he's just got different ones. Maybe they are inconsistent because they're different.
I think he does have different ones. Maybe he only had one that, you know, on the instructions said this one will turn board members to ash.
Yeah.
You know?
I like to think if he
Do not use around board members as they will turn to ash.
If you look at the design of them, they almost look a bit like an egg timer.
They do.
Right.
Oh, they really
so maybe
do.
you can turn them to different levels.
I'd say so.
And he turned that one to 11.
Like phases on stun, that kind of thing. Or
And then you would ask the question, well, why don't you just make 10 more powerful? But that one goes to 11.
Are we going Spinal Tap here?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, I liked it. It would have been a great little cut-in shot of him just kind of like, I don't know, over cranking that pumpkin bomb before he throws it. Or you turn it and it says ash.
He overcranks it and you hear it start to tick.
Tick, tick.
And then he goes to the kitchen and he's got an egg. Egg in a bowl.
Doesn't have to be
egg
an
in a
egg.
pan. Well, it does. What else do you need an egg time for?
Boiling pasta and stuff like that.
No.
But anyway.
No. Only eggs.
Yeah, and then they must be different because you've got the pumpkin bombs and then you've got the razor bats, which he kind of throws out. And
Is that... Oh, yeah, okay.
Maguire's Spider-Man does that kind of like...
That's when he gets the bike messenger cut.
Yes. Spider-Man does this kind of contorted jump, and
It
these
almost
three...
feels like the stuntman did that jump in the air.
And then they added
the
where the bats would
spinning...
be.
These are called... What are these called?
Razor bats.
Razor bats.
I don't think it said in the film.
No, it's
I
not.
don't know where that comes
Definitely
from.
not.
I'm going to say it's from a toys.
It could be from
a
toy.
toy
Do you know what?
line.
It could have been from the production itself. You know, production. They could have decided
That's what they
they're
called them, but it never gets like
never
said
gets
in
actually
canon.
said.
Yeah. But again, they look really good. They look really
Oh, they do.
menacing, and they look good on screen as they move in slow motion and spin around and try and do some slicing and a dicing.
Hasn't Harry Osborn got some different pumpkins in number 3?
Probably, yeah. Goblin Jr.,
Yeah.
whatever he's called.
I mean,
he
like-
was called New Goblin. At least,
Goblin.
again, I think we're talking about production and toys. I don't think he's just called Harry in the film.
Yeah.
God, what a terrible... I mean...
See, that film is
we-
an example of a film that's got some good elements.
Yeah.
Take some of these elements out and they're really good.
Put
it all together, shit.
That scene of Harry attacking Peter for the
Yeah,
first time and he loses the engagement ring,
Yeah.
that was used as like an excerpt from the film for marketing material.
It was
and
good.
I thought that Spider-Man 3 was genuinely going to be very, very good. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
like the look of Goblin. I thought, but this is just like a phase 1. He's going to kind of like, it'll develop throughout the film.
But I
He
thought,
does not.
Do you know what? I thought he was a better looking Goblin than the original Goblin, though, because he didn't have that mask.
I know, but he's just got like a ski mask on.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Yeah, no.
It's really bad. Talking of that mask from Spider-Man 1, there was, have you seen the original kind of animatronic design that they were going to go for. So it looks more like a latex mask.
Oh, okay.
He's got kind of like the eyes had like an amber-looking half egg dome kind of over the eyes to kind of, I suppose, like to protect from air and wind as you were as you were flying around on your glider. There was all kind of, you kind of see all the animatronics coming out the back of this latex mask and how it would have affected the mouthpiece. So like a stuntman or Defoe would have still worn this thing.
Feels to me like that
it would have been very good.
Well, it feels to me like they tried
Very
to make
different.
it. They couldn't quite make it work.
Wasn't working.
So then they went with they just said, well, let's get like a solid, scary looking mask.
Yeah.
I like that one. Let's have that one. Bad.
Yeah. It was such a shame. So there's a moment again in Spider-Man 3 where you are in New Goblin's lair and you're kind of moving across these masks.
Yeah.
And one is kind of the Green Goblin mask, and then one has got this kind of like orangey, goldy look to it. It's very metallic, shiny looking. It's too shiny. But we could have gone. That felt like a little nod to kind of like Hobgoblin. Could have been Hobgoblin. Why didn't you do that? Now, Hobgoblin in the comics is a completely different character.
Yeah.
It's a different criminal who has kind of like appropriated the weapon and techniques, but he's very different in his approach. Who cares? Okay, we're not doing that, but we're calling this guy Hobgoblin. What's wrong? What would have been wrong with that? I would have liked that.
Nothing would have been wrong with that.
Nothing.
And do you know what? There was nothing wrong with your pick there. Pumpkin bombs, fantastic choice.
Thanks, pumpkin bombs.
So that's it for today. If you want to find out what our tippity top picks are for the filmic tools of man-made violence, join us again next time. Hopefully you're enjoying our ramblings of chattery, and if you are, please tell all your friends. It really does make a difference. If not, you shut your beautiful mouth and never speak of this again. We'll be back here again pretty soon with part 2 of our weapons spectacular. Anything you want to say on it, Dan?
Just that I'm looking forward to the audience coming and listening to this.
Yeah.
We're going to welcome them into our house.
Yeah.
We're going to lay on all the spread.
What are you going to lay on?
Huh?
You're going to lay on what?
Maybe like a Persian rug.
Okay.
Almost naked. Fire roaring in the background. Caviar spread over my nethers. Come in, sit down.
I mean, that's how we've recorded every single podcast so far. So I don't know why you're telling me it's not a surprise.
It is affecting the budget, though. We've got
It
to
really
cut
is.
that caviar down.
But then there'll be a lot more seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act.
Maybe we'll just cut the crackers.
What you call me?
So if you
I was
want
going to try and make a joke about me Jacobs, but
Oh, nice.
not going to do it now.
Okay. So like, share, and subscribe.
No, don't.
No, do.
Don't. No.
Dan, stop it. You want...
I don't. I want them to live free in a world that does not enforce them to fall into this trap
Are
of
you
this
saying-
commercialism.
Are you saying live free or die hard?
That's what I'm saying. It's been my motto for a long time.
Anyway, so that's it, folks. We'll see you next time.
God, I miss you already. So close to the mic.
Yep.
So close.
Why do you have to sit on my lap? You're really close to my mic as well.
See ya.
Sure, we can end that somewhere there.
And cuts.
Take care, everybody. What was that? That weird accent. Take care, everybody. Hey, y'all.
If I see you on the hippity hop, I'm going to give you the flippity flap.